Hey guys, I just want to say that if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm a small content creator and could really use your support. I live stream 100% of the gameplay for games that I review, and I'm also always trying to keep up with the big named movies that are being released. If you would like to support the channel monetarily, you can do so through PayPal, or even better yet, you can get yourself some merch from my Teespring store. If you want to get better connected, you can do so through the social links in the description below, and please do consider joining the Discord. If you do, you can voice chat with me through my headphones while I live stream, and you won't be recorded on YouTube or Twitch. That's all I've got, guys. I hope that you really enjoy the video. Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Mike, and this is
Amber.
And today we are going to talk about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Okay guys, so we're going to jump right in here, as always, with the production of the movie. So the production company for this was, obviously, Marvel Studios, which is owned by Disney. It was written by a Dave Callahan, who was the writer for that amazing hit, Wonder Woman 1984, and Andrew Lanham, who had written a movie called Just Mercy. That's a lesser-known movie. And Destin Daniel Cretton, from Just Mercy, and also he is the director of the movie. So some lesser-known people, and a guy who wrote a movie that has basically been called a flop. So, recipe for success. Okay, but so we're going to start with our 5 categories. So we have plot, characters, acting, and then a miscellaneous section, and then we'll go into our final review score. So the plot. The basic plot summary from Marvel.com goes as follows. Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings stars Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, who must confront the past he thought he left behind when he is drawn into the web of mysteries of the mysterious, Ten Rings organization. So, what did you think? What did you think of just generally the plot? No spoilers, but just the general idea of the plot. Like,
I thought it was cool. I thought it was intriguing for the adventure. I wanted to see what the mystery was, definitely. I think they stuck to the plot pretty well throughout the movie.
Okay. So I do have some things written down here that are, some are good, some are bad. I did like the world building that they did when they actually introduced the actual legend of the Ten Rings. Like, they told the story of this power-hungry man. He gets the 10 rings and they make him superhuman and immortal. Sets up his ancient secret society called the Ten Rings as well. And then there's the whole thing with this Talo, which is like an ancient mystical village that he's trying to get to gain more power. So I did like that. They kind of tie along with like Talo and stuff. They immediately, right in the beginning, again, no spoilers, but right in the beginning of the movie, they talk about this mystical village that you don't see in the beginning of the movie, but they talk about the ancient protector, which is supposed to be the ancient dragon protector, which is kind of ties in with some other Marvel characters. So I was like, oh, I like that. Like, in the beginning of the movie, I did really like the intro sequence. I mean, I thought that was nice.
Yeah, that was a lot. It was a really good story building, like you said. I was really into the way that they built the world around it. And then I don't know if this is spoiling, but they brought it to kind of modern time. I like how they tied it all together. They did a pretty good job with that.
And one thing that I liked is, and something that they talked about in like advertising and kind of promoting the movie, was that this was kind of Marvel's like martial arts kind of Eastern style movie, and this in the beginning you kind of had the feel of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like classic martial arts style movie. So I really like how they set up the movie. Now, as far as the plot, it's not all good. Notice I have to split this because plot, I did write a couple of things here. So there is a lot going on. I mean, I would say that, there is so much going on in this movie. I wrote it all down. I'm going to rattle off some things for the audience here and tell me what you think of this. Like, when I read this to you, tell me what you think here, Amber. Okay, so I wrote, there's a lot going on, distractions from the main story, and then kind of to illustrate that point for you, I'm going to rattle off all these things. So this is kind of all of the usually in movies they have maybe like 4 or 5 main plot points that span an hour and a half. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple things that happen, maybe some sidebar stuff. Okay,
sure.
These are everything I'm about to read to you is a main plot, core part of this movie. Okay, so you have the 10 Rings, the love story between the mother and the father, the secret life of Shang-Chi. You have the assassin training and then running away. You have his sister, the conflict with his sister, and also her being in the shadows. You have the Misc guy in the movie, kind of in a revenge plot with him, but it is a core part of the movie. You have Tallow and getting there. You have Katie. She in herself is her own whole core story part. You have without spoiling, monkeys on horses, that whole sequence of everything went on there, and then you also have, thrown on top of all of that, demons. The best way that I can explain to you what I mean with, like as far as saying too much, is that you might be able to kind of wrap all of those things up in a bow, which Disney has done in the past, such as in Infinity War and Endgame. But here, the runtime was 2 hours and 12 minutes, and they probably could have brought that down to an hour and a half if they didn't include.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there. You're right. Now that I bring it back, I mean, there was some things that were left to question that are still remaining a mystery after watching the film.
Yeah, no, and we will get into that because in the miscellaneous section, I do have some things that I'm like, but overall, and another thing too, along with there being all of these things that they mention, like that they've kind of thrown into the mix here, because of all of the things that they've got to do, a lot of the stuff that is happening kind of in the main story, like as you're following Shang-Chi, a lot of what is happening is so related to the past that what they do is they include a lot of flashbacks. You know what I'm saying? So you'll be watching scenes and like you don't know as an audience member, and then they do a flashback to explain it to you. That just kind of again, that's just another thing that shows like they could have done 2 movies, or even like a trilogy. Like they could have done 2 movies or a trilogy to get to the end of this movie.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of holes. The plot, the storyline, the core of it, I think is there from beginning to end, but they do throw a lot of things that keep you wondering. And it almost feels like, are they setting it up for an origin story? But I feel like we should have had more information before going into this.
Right.
film.
It would be hard for them to do an origin story because they revealed so much of the origin. You know what I'm saying here? Yeah.
Right.
So it's like they were trying to do the origin story, the setup for the character, and then the payoff all in one movie. And I think that basically, I think that you've perfectly encapsulated it when you say like, yeah, there was a lot of extra stuff. I mean, I basically thought it sounded like somebody said, hey, I have a really good idea for an awesome, kind of Eastern mythology style kung fu character movie. And then somebody else, like some executive, came in and said, well, throw this on top. Put this in there. You need one of these types of characters. Throw that in there. And so it was a lot of distraction from the movie. One of the things that I think that they tried here is they tried to do like a Guardians of the Galaxy style comedy stuff. And there was too much of it, and I don't think it paid off as well as they wanted it to. So
Yeah, I appreciated the comedy. I'm really happy that Katie's. I can't remember her name. I'm sorry. Forgive me for that. But
I
she
have it
played.
written down here. We'll go over it. But yeah, Katie. No, I like her. I like her as an actor. It's Aquafina is her name. I like her as an actor. I saw her in Jumanji: The Next Level, and I thought that she was really good. I'm just saying that while the comedy isn't like bad or anything, I'm just some of it doesn't hit as well as it should have. That was my point. And by the end of the movie, I mean it's like a pretty serious movie. Like I'm not even by the end. I would say like about halfway through, we're kind of into the seriousness of this whole thing, and then at times they'll make like a funny joke, and I'm like, it kind of pulls you out of the seriousness of this story. It'd be like if there was a fart joke on the walls of Helm's Deep. You know, it's like
Yeah, I
in the Lord of the
understand
Rings.
when
You're
you
like, wait a
when
minute
you
now.
that way.
We're kind of past that section of the movie here.
Yeah, I appreciated it, but then yeah, sometimes maybe it took away from what the intention of the tone might have been. So I'd love to hear what other people think about that too.
No, exactly. So let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments what you think of the comedy and how you think that stuff went. So, okay, so we're gonna move into acting. So this, as I said with the production is kind of newer, like newer people, newer director. Like the director's not very well known. The writers are kind of newer writers coming up into the industry. So here they basically have two. I would say that you could consider two or maybe three of the actors as kind of, big name actors that kind of carry the cast, and the rest of them are actually very new. So you have Tony. I'm gonna mess up these names because some of these people are actually from China and stuff, and they have like kind of very Eastern names. So I'm gonna mess them up. So just bear with me here. So you have Tony Chu Wei Luong, and I looked him up, and on Wikipedia, this is Wikipedia, but actually Wikipedia is pretty accurate nowadays. So this is what his bio says on Wikipedia. It says that he is a Hong Kong actor and singer. And he is considered one of Asia's most successful and internationally recognized actors, and was named as Small Tiger among the 5 Tiger Generals of TVB, which is like their big network television. Okay, he was in the movie. So his most well known for his movie In the Mood for Love, which was in 2000. Internal Affairs in 2002, and those are foreign films, so those two are foreign. And then The Grand Master in 2013, which is where I know him from because he plays Ip Man in that, the main character. So I don't know if you saw that movie.
The Ip Man?
Yeah. Well, The Grand Master.
Yeah, I have.
You saw that?
Yeah.
Really. As soon as I saw him, I was like, where do I know him from? And then I looked it up later. Yeah, he's a really good actor.
Yeah, definitely. Now I recall it. I see him in that movie.
Yeah, he's the main character. Excuse me, I got a guy driving by my house. They're all so loud.
Yeah, cool. So
okay, yeah, I think that he's a really great actor. I was really happy with his performance. So then aside from that, you have the Simu Liu, who is a very much so lesser known actor, and he. So wait a minute. Before I go on, Tony Chu Luang, he was the one that played the Mandalorian or the Mandarin.
Yeah,
he's the Mandarin. Okay, then Simu Liu, who is actually Shang-Chi. Now he has played. I want to say that there's been 2 movies that I saw him on his IMDb page, but otherwise he's basically been in some small time series. He's been in some small time like short films. He's a much so lesser known actor. And his biggest role is from the television show Kim's Convenience, which has run from 2016 till modern day, 2021. I mean, his acting, I think that he did okay. Like, I mean, it was like passable. He didn't deliver like some great like Anthony Hopkins in Red Dragon type performance, but he was basically okay.
I thought it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I know that his physicality. I know that my understanding is, so I don't pay much attention to like the hype or anything, but I know that he basically was not very fit, or maybe he was a little bit fit, but I mean he really got fit for this role.
That's fun.
Kind of like, again, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like Chris Pratt, he was not like a fit guy. He was kind of fat guy. And then for Guardians of the Galaxy, he got jacked. So that's nice. Like, no, and I want to say, like, he's a newer actor. his acting was okay. You know, nothing amazing, but you know, props to you for like really putting yourself into the role and, you know, really getting jacked for the role. So he was basically nothing to write home about, but he was fine. Like he did a good enough job. Good job. Okay.
Yeah,
Kind of
I
a
didn't
new
mind
rising
it.
star. Yeah.
It's fine.
But I think that part of what was up with his character is the writing, and I'm going to get into that a little later. But definitely the writing for his character was like not designed for him to be some great. Like he wasn't supposed to come in and be like, oh my god, this is the major huge actor. Oh, how awesome! You know, he just if that makes sense.
I don't know. You're saying that his writing didn't do him justice for his character?
So I think he did fine, but I think like my point is like if you watch the Matrix movie, you can tell that Morpheus was supposed to be awesome, and the actor really strutted his stuff, Lawrence Fishburne, in showing how awesome he was. Gandalf. The reason like Gandalf's character was written to be this great thing and they needed a great actor. Here, Shang-Chi was not written in the same way where you go and you look and you say, man, that performance was really good.
Yeah, he was like a modest badass kind of.
Like he's kind of a blank slated character. Not necessarily in a bad thing to the actor, but I'm just saying the way that he was written did not really show the acting potential. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it took a little bit to feel the magnitude of his character.
Yeah. And I'm going to mention that in characters too when we get into characters. So then Aquafina. Now this is the lady that you liked, Katie. She is a newer actor. She actually started acting in 2012. I don't know if you know anything about her. Do you know anything about her?
Yeah, she's funny. I love her.
Okay.
She played in Raya. She was Raya in the Last Dragon.
Okay. Oh yeah. I remember that. Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah.
So this is what her IMDb page says. Aquafina is an American actress and rapper. She has played supporting roles in the comedy films Ocean 8 and Crazy Rich Asians, and her lead role in the comedy drama The Farewell earned her a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress nomination. So, she started in the music industry and then worked her way into acting, and as they said, so Ocean's 8, Crazy Rich Asians, and then the one that I saw her in was Jumanji Next Level, which she did a really good job because basically what she had to do. Did you see that movie?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So where she had to basically act like she was Danny DeVito.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good. She kind of does the little like... So you see her, she looks normal. Like she's basically a normal looking... I say that because you're going to get what I mean here in a second when I explain this. So she's like a normal lady in this movie, you know, and she's like, oh, I'm Katie, whatever. And then in that movie, she had to kind of like act like Danny... So you see her kind of walk around like this and she's like, what's going on over here, you know? Oh, what do you mean? Like this is, you know... Okay, so it's like
awesome.
She does a really good job with the physical humor and being funny. And I think that she actually is a really good actor. Her character here, again, I would say that the writing here did not, again, same idea. The writing here did not complement her capability, other than maybe being a little bit funny.
Yeah, I felt like she really like tied it together. I don't know. I feel like the movie wouldn't be the same without her.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I appreciated her role too.
No, and that's fine. I mean, yeah, if you like it, you like it. That's how it goes. I mean,
I don't think that she was supposed to be built up to be more than she was in the movie. All right, you know, I think that it was fitting.
She basically is a comedy relief character.
Yeah, definitely.
My point, though, is that I think that she's a better actor than that, necessarily. I think that they could have developed her character a little bit more or had some different moments where they relied on her acting more than the writing. You know what I mean? Because I think in any role, there's like the acting and the writing are two things. And here I would say, like Shang-Chi, as I said, his writing was more important than the acting. I think that her character...
So. I think you're right that his writing should have been more important, more emphasized than his acting. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like the writing did not give him room to act as well as he could have.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? And like I think the same kind of here. Like she's funny, and that's what she is.
Really, yeah. I think that's the only reason why she was put in there.
Yeah.
The role, which I appreciated.
But is good. I like her. I hope that she continues on, and because she is pretty funny. So, then we have Menger Zhang. Have you ever heard of her? That's because she's a completely new actress. This is her first role in anything. She's never been in anything, ever.
Oh.
This is Shang-Chi's sister.
Okay.
And I would say that it's probably the role of Shang-Chi's sister was appropriate for the actress, again, because she does a good enough job, okay? But basically, her character is in the movie, does some things, is not a huge role in the movie.
Right. Her character is like a large component of the movie, I guess. I mean, because of the storyline. But yeah, I guess it's just kind of.
She doesn't do much though.
Yeah, it's not very concrete to follow along with. Where she was at.
You know, and the thing is too is like because this is a martial arts movie, like that's not bad because most of what you actually see her do is martial arts, and it's like you don't need her to be some great actress to have her face and then a stunt double, or maybe if she did her own stunts, I'm not sure, but just basically like have her face seen and then have a stunt double do martial arts, or have her face seen and then she does the martial arts. I don't know, but you get my point. Like most of what she does of what her character does is the martial arts. So
yeah, I wonder what her background is in martial arts then, if that's why she got the role, or.
Yeah, my understanding is that she's actually like very educated in film and stuff, but like she's from Juilliard and everything. But just as her first role, which what a great breakout role to be in.
Really,
AAA Marvel movie release. That's pretty good. So then we have Fala Chen, okay, and she plays Shang-Chi's mom, and she's famous for The Undoing, which is a 2020 film, Heading South, which is a 2020 film, and then Sound of the Desert, which is 2014, and all of those, my understanding is that, like, those are all kind of lesser-known movies. Like, they're not mainstream. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of those. I think that her acting was good. She doesn't have the biggest role, like, Shang-Chi's mom doesn't have, like, the biggest role, but the actor does have, whenever you see her, it's always like kind of character developing moments, emotional moments, and I think she filled that out pretty good. This is one where you can see that the writing allowed her to act.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I would say, like, also the Mandarin, the big bad guy of the movie, same idea. I just want to comment that because we've been talking about the writing and stuff, is that the writing he was like the main character of this movie almost. Actually, so, and the writing allowed him to show his acting prowess through the way that his character was. So, Fala Chen does good. That's it, pretty good. And then we have Michelle Yeoh, and she plays Shang-Chi's aunt, and she's pretty famous. You know who she is, right?
I don't know who she is.
What's that?
I don't know who she is.
She was the one. She was in the movie Diary of a Geisha. She's also from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Okay.
She was Tomorrow Never Dies.
No. I mean, I don't remember her from them, but that makes sense that she's really famous then if she's in those titles.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about though, like the actress on the screen you can remember from the movie.
So she was one of the main characters in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yes, she was. Okay. Yeah, she was the guardian of the sword from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Okay, then I can recognize
the older Asian lady at the village when they get the tallow.
Yeah, big fight. Oh, yeah. I know who she was in this movie for sure.
Okay.
Saying, like, in her other
so she is a veteran actor or actress. So basically, it's her. I would say that her and the Mandarin's actor, whose name I have a ridiculously hard time pronouncing. Two veteran actors, and I think that they do a pretty good job kind of carrying the cast. The rest of it, like I said, relies primarily on writing rather than acting. The last guy that I have to mention because he plays a Marvel character, like an actual Marvel character, is Florian Montanu. He's a newer actor. This is his second movie. He's the guy. He's the guy with the blade arm. This is his. Yeah, he plays Razor Fist. This is his second movie, and he was in Creed 2.
Got you.
And that's
there wasn't really any cheesy acting, I don't think, in this movie. I feel like the acting is pretty solid. Even if there was going to be one guy, it might have been him, but otherwise...
Yeah, he actually did pretty good. He basically played the same character that he played in Creed 2.
Sure.
Like he's just a boxer. In Creed 2 he was, but like here he's just like, that's his character. He does okay. Yeah, pretty good guy. Okay, so moving on to characters. So we have Zhu Wenwu, who is or also the Mandarin, and he's played, as we said, Tony Luang. I'm just going to say Tony Luang. Those are like his very first name and his last name because he has 4 names. I want to say, so the character is actually very different from the comic books. Have you read? Are you familiar with this character at all?
I'm not. No.
Okay, so in this movie, what's that?
I never heard of the Ten Rings before this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, so it was new to me. So just going from there.
Yeah. So like that, which is a great idea for Marvel and Disney because they've basically. They took blank slate characters and just said like, we'll use these blank slate characters and make the story whatever we want. The Mandarin is a lesser known character in the Marvel comics. In the comics, the Mandarin is the main enemy of Tony Stark. And each of the 10 rings, I don't know if you've heard of this from promotion or anything because some people have talked about it. In the comics, each of the 10 rings had a different power. Like one ring would allow him to use a disintegration beam. The other ring would allow him to fly. One ring and control the wind. One ring would allow him to shoot fire. One ring would have an ice beam. One ring would allow him to hypnotize people. And the 10 rings together gave him all this pretty cool power. It was kind of like the Infinity Gauntlet. Each thing of the Infinity Gauntlet had control of a different thing. The 10 rings were nowhere near as powerful as those, but they could all do some pretty cool stuff. If you're a comic book fan, if you're a comic book fan and you come into this, like, I'm not going to say that you're going to be some people are probably going to be disappointed, but I don't think that you necessarily have to be, because this really is a minor character, and they didn't, and it was a good thing, like, they took a minor character, kind of rewrote him to be actually a little bit more entertaining in some ways, but less comic book authentic, because here, the 10 rings are not any of that. The 10 rings basically give them like super strength, immortality, energy projection abilities, and then kind of a limited flight. Like you see him sometimes kind of like shoot the ground in the rings, and he can use the rings almost like Thor can use his hammer. Like Thor throws the hammer goes out, comes back. The rings, he can shoot them out, and then he can like summon them back and stuff like that. Here, they kind of put more weight on his character. Like, they say that he's this great, big, huge, giant. Like, he's this looming threat over the whole world, almost. In the comic books, he was just a guy that fought Tony Stark. He wasn't that big a deal. One thing that I did like about this is that they gave his character some more they made his character very three-dimensional. Because if you watch it, again, no spoilers, he actually isn't evil. Like, he is the bad guy, but he isn't evil in the story.
Although he chose to use his powers.
In a bad way.
He
did some naughty things, but he's not really an evil guy.
Yeah, so there's more to be said about all of that.
Yeah, but no spoilers. But like, what did you think? I liked that it wasn't just like a bad guy.
So, okay, I guess it would be my final take. I feel like, the movie focused on family values. And so they kind of used that with his character to show that, that there's a soft side to this big, powerful guy. So it ties into more of the whole plot of the movie, I think. Well,
and I do want to say, so he is Shang-Chi's father. which is, you can tell from the promotional material they bring it out, he's Shang-Chi's father, and again, kind of feeding into like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon stuff, when the movie starts with Shang-Chi's mother telling the story of how she met him and how he was an ancient Chinese warlord, and how the legend of the Ten Rings was basically his legend. It was him almost conquering all of China and almost conquering the world, because he had these rings that gave him the ability, and you see him fighting armies by himself and stuff with these rings. And yeah, the thing with father-son, I did like that too, so that was good. Yeah, I did like the father-son connection. It's not... They don't spend a whole lot of time together on screen, but the father-son connection has a payoff in the end, which is nice.
The more I've thought about it, the more I've realized that, there, like I keep saying, I feel like there was a lot of holes that we need to be filled in more on, but the overall theme, I think, it followed a lot of a family dynamic type of story with a lot of action behind it, no doubt, but the superhero, or the place where Shang-Chi ties into the Avengers world, it kind of wasn't built up as much as the family.
Right. Yeah, so this could almost be... Marvel could have made this movie and not connected it to the rest of the MCU at all, and it would have been fine. Yeah, because this, I agree with you. Like, this was a family values style.
Yeah.
So...
It was a great, I want to save my final comments for the end, but...
Okay, sure. So, let's set up like this. One last thing that I want to say is that in the comic books, about his comic book character, he's actually an amalgamation here, because in the comic books, Shang-Chi's father was not the Mandarin, it was not Zhu Wenwu. In fact, that wasn't even the character's name in the comics. He was, other than being called the Mandarin, in the comics he had a different name. Shang-Chi's father was named Fu Manchu, and actually it's interesting because Marvel Comics invented the Fu Manchu. Like the Fu Manchu mustache and beard combination. Yeah, that was... It's called that because of the character Fu Manchu, who is a Marvel Comic Books character. So basically, Fu Manchu was a character, and then the Mandarin was a character, and for the movie they kind of fused them together. And actually, Shang-Chi is the next character we're going to talk about. In the comics, he has literally no connection to the Ten Rings at all. He is only connected to the Ten Rings. Well, he does have a connection, but he never fights the Mandarin. He never has anything to do with the Mandarin. He's not related to the Mandarin. He only has a connection to the Mandarin because he trained at the Ten Rings school. Okay? So in the comics, the Mandarin was not... The Mandarin was considered one of the greatest... was actually considered the greatest martial artist on planet Earth. And that's where that's actually more of where he got some of his powers as far as super strength. Not really super strength, but like strength and stuff, I guess, from his chi. And then the Shang-Chi trained with him, and Shang-Chi and him are considered the greatest martial artists in all of Marvel Comics, okay? But anyway, Shang-Chi. We kind of talked about him before. Not a whole lot of actual character development, and that's what I meant about the writing. The writing just kind of... And he stays, like, by the end of the movie, he stays like a blank slate character where they might be able to kind of develop him in different ways, but you don't really get... It's almost like, basically, his character in the movie, in my opinion, is just kind of taken through the movie by the writing. Rather than, like, when you see Wolverine in the X-Men movies, you kind of get more of, like, that's who Wolverine is. By the end of this movie, let me ask you, like, what kind of person is Shang-Chi?
Yeah, I think that's where I am describing a lot of holes in the plot in the movie.
Yeah, like they should have added more character development.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that. So when you say holes, you mean like things that they should have done, not plot holes. You're saying like things that they should have added. Okay. I just want to make that very clear, because when we get in there is going to be like a plot holes section, but this is not plot holes. We're talking about things that they probably should have added. But very good martial artist. As I said in the comics, he's considered the best martial artist in Marvel Comics. His character was actually designed because in the 70s, DC Comics had a character called Kane. And if you watch the movie Django Unchained, there's a song that they play in some of the sequences where you see and they say, his name was Kane. and he's like, I think they say like he rode a black horse or whatever. It's a song like that. That song is about Kane, the DC superhero.
Gotcha.
And he was a guy that would travel through the Wild West, but he used martial arts. He was like a Shaolin monk. Marvel wanted to buy that character and use him, and DC would not sell. So Marvel created their own character, Shang-Chi.
I see.
To make martial arts comics, okay? But, I mean, overall, like, the character's fine. We'll see how they develop him more in the future. Then we have Xiaoling, who is Shang-Chi's sister. As I said, she's a new actress, so, like, the writing and stuff, kind of same idea. She's core. I think you basically described her pretty well. She's core to the story as far as the story, but she doesn't do much. I basically wrote Shang-Chi's sister and didn't add much. Hopefully, so basically what they've done is they've, like, showed us these characters, didn't develop them too much, and just wait till the next movie.
Sure. That would be my anticipation if there is another movie. Otherwise,
you have Lee, who's played by Fala Chen. That's Shang-Chi's mother. She is the wife of the Mandarin in the movie. Part of the big thing about her character is that she dies off screen before you see. That's kind of revealed how she dies and what happens with that through one of the flashbacks that I mentioned. She is the connection to Talo, this mythical village with mythical creatures and magic power. She's the connection to Talo, and she's kind of the connection that Marvel has for this movie to that Eastern martial arts stuff, because she has kung fu magic. It's not really magic, it's chi and stuff like that, but basically for all intents and purposes, she uses kung fu magic. Okay? And that's like her thing. Her character, she acts as kind of a like plot device for the movie to explain the motivations of Shang-Chi and to explain that whole, like, what the thing that they're after in the movie as far as the village Tello.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's not much to add about her. She's just there.
Hey, yeah, watch the movie.
Yeah, I mean, her character. No. I mean, if you have more to add, I'm just saying, like, her character has character moments as far as being a mother to Shang-Chi and stuff, but
nothing in the movie is like surprising, like that. Would add more to her character, though.
Yeah. There's not like a big. Oh wow, that's what she. No, it was just like, nope. She was just the mom, and she loved the Mandarin, and then her death kind of sets in motion some things, but yeah. So
yeah.
Then you have Ying Nan, which is kind of Michelle Yeoh. She's the very famous actor here that I was saying. She's Shang-Chi's aunt, and basically she acts as kind of a surrogate mom towards the end of the movie, and she also has kung fu magic. Kung fu magic! No, she does. She has kung fu magic. So, like I said, very good actress. The character is kind of there to almost do an exposition as well. She's like another plot device type character. She comes in, she explains some stuff, and then to move the story forward.
Yeah, more toward the end of the story. She's a big role, for sure.
So, and then you have Razor Fist, the guy with the arm thing. He's a minion of sorry, I was talking to somebody else and they said Mandalorian too, but they kept saying Mandalorian. But yeah, Mandarin. I was talking to somebody else about this movie the other day. So he's a minion of the Mandarin. He's basically a very small comic book character who in the comic books doesn't in like the main line of the comic books doesn't have anything to do with the Ten Rings or anything like that. But just they kind of threw him in. He's okay. He's okay to kind of identify as being like the big. One of the main guys from the big bad team, I guess. I only mention him, like I said, because he's an actual comic book character, Razor Fist, okay? Then you have Katie. Now, Katie is where I kind of have some problems. I like Awkwafina, the actress. She is a created character for the movie, and they make her very important. Like, they kind of bring her along, and she's funny, and she does all this stuff. But my problem was this. Why was she here at all? Like, she wasn't in the comics. in the promotion of this movie, they talk about how her character is a creative character that's going to change. Like, literally, I didn't read the article, but I just saw, like, the headline, and it said, this character could change everything. And I'm like, how? Now that I've watched the movie, I'm like, she was the comedy relief.
Yeah. I don't agree with that title that you read somewhere. I mean, I definitely didn't see that in the movie, but...
And I want to make it very clear... No, I want to make it very clear. Having a comedy relief character, such as like the college student from the Thor movies, I forget her name, but they have that college student. She's like the black haired lady. She's in the television show Two Broke Girls or whatever. It doesn't matter. But she's just like a comedy relief character. I mean, having that kind of character is fine, but like she didn't really change anything. And then as we sort of got into like the later half of the movie where there's really some action going on, they kind of kept her around, and I was like, why?
Yeah, people might have fell in love with her character at the beginning of the movie and didn't want to see
her. Did you fell in love with the character? You liked her?
I really did, yeah.
I thought that she was fine. There's another character, and you're going to know who I'm talking about, but there's another, but the audience here is not. There's another character who comes in and is basically a comic relief character. He comes in towards the latter half of the movie.
That's the guy that I was like, why is he even in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, what was
no spoilers though, okay? But
sure.
they bring this person in, and I know why he was in the movie, and it is a he, but I know why he was in the movie. They brought him along, and he does nothing. He's just comedy relief, and he's kind of like a little like, hey, like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Okay, that's what I think her character should have been. Because in the end, you know what happened, what she does, and it's like this big deal thing that she does, and I was like, I don't think that they should have given that to her, if that makes sense. They have her do some things that are bigger than what her character should have been allowed to be, I think.
Maybe her role will grow in the sequel.
Yeah, no, I mean, sure. But I don't know. As of right now, I would say I didn't... It was a little stretched, is what I mean. Okay. Yeah. Her character was butter spread over too much bread. Okay, so this is taking a little bit of time here, but we're doing some good analysis. I'm liking this. So let's move on. We got the miscellaneous. We're almost finished. Miscellaneous section. So one thing that I liked, some people are going to like, some people aren't. English subtitles.
Yes. Okay. So that was one of my big hang-ups, because I actually went and saw the movie with my two kids, my son, who's 12, and my daughter, who's 5. And they both were able to watch the whole movie and enjoyed the whole thing. But luckily for my son, he can read fluently. But my daughter, I was over there whispering to her for the first, good 15 minutes, it felt like anyway, of the movie. So it's a great family movie.
Because it's in ancient China, so...
Yeah, just beware if you.
Yeah, some people are gonna like that. There are people who are like into Chinese movies,
that's what. Sorry to interrupt, but that really was what reminded me of Crouching Tiger, along with the fighting style. But the subtitles, I remember, that one having a lot of those too. So the martial arts action. I also want to say, just real quick, last thing on there is kind of a debate all the time between like, is English subs better, or is English dubs better, or English voice acting with subtitle, all that stuff that they get in when you're talking to people who are like into either animated movies, like Japanese anime, or if you're talking to people who are into like Chinese martial arts movies. Some people are going to like that it has subtitles, some people aren't. That debate is going to be here too. Okay, next point that I wrote down was martial arts action. Now, I liked the martial arts action. I want to make that very clear right now. Martial arts action, very good. It was not... If you are expecting a Chinese-style movie, even like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, you are not going to get that. The martial arts style was that. Okay? And I've watched Bruce Lee movies, Jackie Chan. I've watched some of the other old ones, the Magnificent Seven, things like I've seen like basically most of the big ones, and then a few of the other kind of martial arts movies. The problem here is that in those movies, it's or like Kung Fu Hustle. In those movies, it's like opening sequence explains what's going on, and then you start seeing people kick ass. In this movie, there's less action
than people who want traditional Chinese martial arts movies are going to like. And this movie was designed to be like a traditional Chinese martial arts movie, so, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I don't know. I guess I'm just pretty simple-minded when it comes to
I think the average person is going to be fine. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if you come into this thinking to yourself, I love martial arts movies, you've got to put up with the fact that you're not going to be getting, foot to the floor action as much as you do in other martial arts movies.
All right. Well, that's good. It's good that we got both of us here because I'm one of the average people, I guess. That I enjoyed the fighting, but I could understand and appreciate what you're saying. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's not necessarily my personal feeling. I'm just...
Yeah, for avid, like, hardcore fans of Chinese fighting style movies, yes, I can agree with you. That it might be disappointing. Okay, it's speculation too, right?
So they have the father-son conflict, which we kind of already talked about. Like I said, the father and the son, I'm going to call him the Mandarin because he's the real Mandarin, okay? There is the Mandarin from the Iron Man 3 thing, but this is like the actual Mandarin. It's easier to pronounce. The Mandarin and Shang-Chi do not have much screen time together at all, but it does have that payoff. And I actually, at the end, when you see the payoff of that kind of conflict and relationship, I thought that was done well. Like, that actually made me go, oh, like, I like that. Like, that was kind of touched me a little bit, in an appropriate way.
Like, the time that they did spend on screen together was impactful. Like, it definitely has.
Yeah. Well, and they build it up. They build up the payoff. Like, you see kind of like how they don't like each other. When the you have like the father being disappointed in his son because when he's training hard, it's not, enough and all this stuff. And then like the son trying to live up the father's expectations, and then finally in the end the son, by the end of the movie, basically when the movie really starts getting going, you already know that Shang-Chi thinks his father is evil. But then by the end of the movie, it's the father, I hate you, and you've done all this bad stuff, and so I'm going to beat you now kind of thing. It was good. I like that. Good. And that's kind of a thing about martial arts movies as well, where you have like the old master whose son is a student, and then they fight each other. So. Yeah,
their fight scene reminded me of a little bit of some Star Wars. There.
Star Wars?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, like Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader?
Yes. No spoilers, though, right? But, yeah.
No, I think that's a good point. It was like, not old Obi-Wan, because nowadays with modern technology, it was like the prequel trilogy fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, where they're really, lightsabers clash. Yeah, they do that. And the CGI and stuff is really good in this movie. And so, like, the action is so well complemented by that. So my next point, I wrote, so there's a possible connection between Shang-Chi and Iron Fist. Have you seen the Iron Fist show?
No.
Okay, so Iron Fist, he's another martial artist guy who has chi power. He can, like, light up his fist and basically punch through anything. It's like a god hand. He can, like... Indestructible. He can destroy indestructible things with his hand. Okay, because power that was given to him by a guardian dragon.
Ooh, yes.
In the city of Kunlun. So,
I love the ancient folklore.
Yeah, so ancient folklore coming together. There's a possible connection between Shang-Chi and Iron Fist through guardian dragons mentioned in the movie. Now, not really getting into spoilers or anything like that about any other deep connections that you may see, because we're not going to do spoilers here, but they do mention guardian dragons, and that was really cool. I really like that. I love dragons. I love Eastern dragons. I love all dragons. Dragons are awesome.
Yeah, me too.
So I thought that was cool. If you're looking for that, we are trying to bring it in. It would be really nice to see, like, Daredevil, Iron Fist, and Power Man, Luke Cage come into the MCU. If you've never seen the Netflix series, go watch those. They're really good.
Yeah, so I agree with you, though, as far as, like, the CG, and, we're talking about dragons and, other characters, so, if you're a fan of the creatures like that, they did a really good job.
Yeah. And there are mythical creatures in here. Like, they do have, I forget what they're called, but they have, like, these giant lion beast creatures. Yeah, basically like giant lion dragons.
I don't want to say too much because it was fun to experience all of those fresh when they opened up the world. But the world was really built up really well, and I really enjoyed
No, I
it.
think so too. I
Yeah.
think so too. We already kind of talked about how the rings are different in the comic books. Each one controlled a different thing. Here, instead of so in the comic books, also I want to mention that he wears, they're like rings that he wears on his hands. Here, they're big rings that he are like slipped on over his arms, and then that's how he like when he shoots and it shoots like an energy projection, a ring comes off and like shoots out. So there is some differences. I do want to say there was a moment that I liked, and we kind of talked about as far as the father-son conflict and the big build-up at the end. There's that Matrix moment near the end where Shang-Chi, so in the Matrix, Neo is like, his big thing is, I'm not the one, I'm not the one, I'm not the one. And then finally he just realizes, like, I am the one, I'm the big hero, I'm going to fight the big evil here. Shang-Chi, he's kind of goes through the movie, and then finally kind of greatness is thrust upon him, and he says, I'm going to fight the big fight. And I really liked that. Like the character, just that one moment, like I know that the character, through the other parts of the review, I've said, like, the character does not have some, like, great connection with you or anything like that. But you can really see at the end there, they really put all their eggs in that basket for character moments where he stands up and he's like, no, I'm gonna, he does it, like, all right, I'm gonna do this, and he fights. And it was really cool. I did like that little moment for him at the end. So that's why it's not such a big deal that it relied more on the writing through the rest, because you see that at the end, and then any entries that we see him, any movies we see him later, you can kind of have that moment that you looked back and go, like, that's who he is. You know what I'm saying? He is the big hero.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
Yeah.
The end.
Did you see Iron Man 3?
Yeah, but I don't remember.
So they had the main bad guy in Iron Man 3 was the Mandarin.
Okay.
But it was a fake Mandarin. And they give a really good explanation in this as how that happened. So basically, it's explained by the real Mandarin in this movie how, like, the legend of the Ten Rings, and this terrorist organization knew the legend, but they didn't know my name, so they took that character and gave basically me a name, and then used that character to do terrorist activity, and he explains it really well. So if you're a big MCU fan, you're gonna like that. It's just like, they kind of filled that plot hole, because it was a big plot hole for Iron Man 3. That was not the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. This is the Mandarin. You see?
Okay. So you're saying that they tied it together then? So that's another way that they're tying this into the series.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they explain it because it was a plot hole for Iron Man 3.
Okay.
Because the big bad guy in Iron Man 3 was fake. Like, it was an actor that they paid to act like he was the Mandarin.
Right.
Like he was this legendary character from thousands of years ago. And the legendary guy from thousands of years ago is a real person, and he's like, that's not even my name. But he is the Mandarin. So yeah, that was cool. They do have some Easter eggs. Abomination and Wong, you see them in the promotional trailers and stuff, so no big thing. You do see Abomination and Wong, and that's another way that they really tie this into the MCU. There's like a underground fighting ring, and you see Abomination in the ring, and Wong is fighting the Abomination. They do a pretty good job. They kind of ruined it because it's in the trailer. So
Gotcha, yeah.
They should not have put that in the trailer.
It would have been a really cool surprise.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I know, like I said, we both said, like, we actually both appreciated the comedy, but there was some, like, I call it not comedy. It's basically like little funny things or a character acting stupid or something, but it's not really funny at that moment. And there are some of that in the later half of the movie with the character that we talked about.
Sure.
No spoilers,
I
but that
completely
character,
agree with you.
Yeah, he has some not comedy where he basically is trying to... It's not something that's bad. It's not where you look at it and go, oh, that was bad. But it's just not funny.
Not necessary.
Yeah, so I want to say Okay, so now we're going to start to kind of get into the bad things. Okay? So if you have bad things to say, I want to talk about the bad things now, the bad points I have. One thing is, in the beginning of the movie, you have the Mandarin who has all these superpowers, and you have Shang-Chi. And Shang-Chi is just basically a guy who's really good at Kung Fu. No, he has no capability of ever being able to defeat the Mandarin. Then, his aunt comes and his aunt he meets his aunt, and she trains him in the way of Kung Fu magic. And that happens over a day.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that was like too quick.
Period of time, yeah.
So that's what we were saying is like you could probably have made this one movie a trilogy. They probably could have had a movie where it was like Shang-Chi just fighting crime normal, and then maybe he starts to try to become a better martial artist. Second movie, he learns magic kung fu powers. Third movie is the end of this movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so I thought that was too quick. The mother's death was supposed to have a lot of weight, but it really didn't because you didn't get too connected to her character.
Yeah, that was kind of like a pointless kind of series of events. It didn't really. I agree. It didn't have a lot of weight. Didn't really feel.
Yeah, the way that they wrote it, they probably could have cut that out, and it would have been the same. The movie would have been the same.
Yeah, we would have known the same outcome.
Her actual death sequence, they could have cut out, but like her being dead, and her being a motivation for the bad guy, and her being a motivation for Shang-Chi, is important. But like the actual death sequence, you probably didn't need to go really into the backstory of that at all.
Yeah, that could have been one of the deleted scenes, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Probably not showing how it happened would have worked better because then you would have not known exactly how it happened and then left it be a mystery. And then when you kind of understand why people are doing certain things, you don't know. So you can kind of, you know, does that make sense? Like you kind of can fill in the blanks yourself and it would make more sense.
Yeah.
There is a moral conflict thrown in right at the end of the movie about killing. I don't know why. No, exactly. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, I don't know if I can kill. Be like, what do you mean you don't know if you can kill? These people are murderers. Like, they're gonna kill everybody. You gotta fight them.
Yeah. I guess that would be like a weak writing, I guess, is what.
Yeah, they just threw it in at the end. Like, literally, if he didn't say those lines, we could have just kept on trucking. Like, the final battle was really built up. I mean, it was really built up. Like, it was going to be this huge battle for the universe, almost. But then when it happens, it was really small. It was like 20 people fighting each other.
Right. I mean, it was, I thought it was entertaining.
No, I thought it was entertaining, but the way that they talk about it makes you think it's going to be another battle outside of Wakanda.
Sure.
And it's not a battle outside of Wakanda. There's basically a small village in China with like 10 huts.
Right.
And a group of people come out and they're like, we will defend this village. And
really?
Then the other bad group comes up and they don't I don't know why the bad group didn't bring more people because they're supposed to have an army. So like it ended up being like 50 people fighting maybe like 40 guys fighting each other.
I feel like if this is a spoiler video, there's so much more that I could say.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so I just feel like, it was entertaining, but it definitely left a lot of questions, as I've stated.
Yeah, like if you expect this to end in a big battle halfway through, if you feel like halfway through you go, man, this is gonna be a big no, sorry. Yeah. It's gonna be good, but it's not gonna be a big bad battle.
There's a lot more in the story that is not shown on the screen. They talk about a lot more that's going on behind the scenes and in the universe, but we don't get to see a lot of that.
No, right. And well, that was part of what I was saying too, as far as the flashbacks, is that they could have, if they had more movies, like if this was a trilogy or even just 2 movies, they could have shown us those things in the story rather than have a flashback to go back to it. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. I do want to mention that there is a lot of momentum pauses. So I'll go through these. I'm just going to read them off real quick and you'll get it. So, momentum pauses. You have, after the opening story, so you get the momentum and the build-up of the opening story and you're very interested. And this one was okay. Then it switched to like modern day where it's Shang-Chi now and you're kind of following him. So that like reset the momentum, which is perfectly fine, okay? But then there's more of them and it starts to get annoying. When he goes, so at one point they get captured, Shang-Chi gets captured by his father, and then the story again resets and it starts telling us more. Like another whole plot of things of what's happening, what he wants him for, what they're doing. Then they get imprisoned. He gets imprisoned because he disagrees with his father and they have a conflict. So then it resets again. Then there's this whole thing of them trying to get to this Chinese village. And there's a side story character who talks about his motivations for his life. And you're like, why are we keep resetting the story here? And then again, one last time in the village, Talo, where you're like, so you see what I mean? Like, so it's like the story's going, stop. The story's going, stop. The story's going, stop. And it's like, if you would have written, again, I really feel like they should have made this 2 or 3 movies. Because then you could have just told one of the, you could have just gone like this and reached the end, and then the next, you see what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like that's a result of too much content, too many storylines.
Too much stuff going on, they didn't exactly know how to tie it together in a pretty bow.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
Then we've got some contrivances and plot holes. So, the magic pendants. So there are some magic pendants that show everybody how to get to this mystical village called Talo. Mm-hmm. They aren't mentioned through the entire... Like, they're it's not really talked about, and then they just... Somebody takes the pendants and goes, here, watch this, and it shows them how to get there.
I don't know about that. I think that there was build-up, actually, with those pendants.
You think so? Okay, okay. And that's fine, that's fine. I would say that one... Actually, no, and when even in my notes I wrote, like, that's kind of a small one, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, then you have Morris. Morris is basically a mythical creature that is from Talo that the Mandarin has. And so the whole thing is that in order to get to Talo, this mystical village with all this magical powers, they have to go through a maze. Like a maze that nobody can get through because it's magic. Mm-hmm. And they use the pendants to try to get to Talo, okay? Not really getting into any real spoilers here, okay? And these pendants are going to help them get through this maze. About 10 seconds, that's like a light spoiler, okay? About 5 minutes after the pendant thing happens, they get captured. Shang-Chi gets captured, and then he discovers Morris, this creature. And Morris can show him the way without the pendants.
Yeah.
So what was with the pendants? That's why the pendants are a contrivance.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he knew about Morris, if he knew the story about Morris and what he was capable of.
No, but no. I'm saying that without the pendants, it would have all been fine because of this.
No, I understand. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if he knew that he had that capability in his possession.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. I'm just saying, though, that, like, from the point of view of the audience, it's a MacGuffin. It's like... It's
well,
just...
he's a fool.
What's
I
that?
guess is the take from that.
Yeah. Okay, so there's that. And then there's escaping the prison. So they're imprisoned. They can't get out. And then all of a sudden, the sister is just like, oh, yeah, here's how you get out.
Yeah.
That wasn't done so well. That was see, you have to these are MacGuffins. MacGuffins are things in a movie's story or just any story. in which there is an impassable thing. Like there's no way that you can defeat this thing, get around this thing, and then magically this MacGuffin thing, for no reason, exists and allows you to defeat the thing.
Right.
I mean? Yeah, so like the pendants were a MacGuffin, Morris was a MacGuffin, escaping the sister was a MacGuffin for escaping prison, and then actually getting through the maze, this maze, to get to Tallow. It's kind of like a, it's yeah, it just wasn't done the best.
Yeah, it could be open. It's so hard to talk without spoilers, Michael. So
Right. No, I agree.
So
the last thing that I have written here is something you mentioned earlier. Actually, is by the end of the movie they've alluded to like how the 10 rings have some connection with Tallow, and it never explains where the connection is. Like what?
right. And
Like,
so
are
is that consistent with Marvel Universe writing?
No.
You know, I mean,
In the comic books, you know exactly where the 10 rings come from.
well, sure, but I mean, like, if that's what I'm saying, like in the next movie, come on, are they going to give us more information about that then?
Yeah,
Or
I guess,
is it
yeah.
something that just is left to question or to
Yeah.
wonder?
Yeah, because yeah, they basically are just like, oh, the 10 rings. Like they even specifically mention his aunt, Shang-Chi's aunt specifically mentions the 10 rings when they get to Tallow, and you're like, how do you even know about the 10 rings? Did the 10 rings come from here? Are they magically this, whatever? It doesn't explain it all.
Yeah, they do talk about it when they get back to the, to the origin village. I guess they do talk about, some of the powers of the rings, and it sounds like they have more knowledge of its capabilities.
So it's never properly explained. It's kind of like it's just that they mention it and then don't like close that loop. It's a plot hole. They leave it open. They
Right.
needed to plug that plot hole. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just assumed that they, they have history there.
So do you have any other miscellaneous things you want to say before we end this thing?
No, I just really, the biggest point, I guess, was it was a great movie. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I thought there was a lot of action. If you are a die-hard Marvel fan, you might notice a lot more things that might be missing there, more questions to be raised. But then just as like a casual viewer, not even knowing about this storyline before seeing the previews, and I really was impressed by the previews. Like, I really wanted to go see this movie. After watching it, there were some basic things that were missing from the movie, like the background of some of the characters, like you had said. So those things will stick out, definitely. But definitely a great movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
So, the last thing that I want to mention from the miscellaneous section is the post-credit scenes. No spoilers, but there are 2 post-credit scenes. One explores a little more of the mystery behind the rings, so that's kind of a setup for a next movie or whatever they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is continued character development for some of the characters.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say some of the characters. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, and then also the subtitles. Just beware if you're not into reading your movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if the DVD, if they put it out on DVD or streaming, if they're going to have dubs.
I think the reason why they did that is to get that feel for the movie, though.
Yeah.
Like it is like an ancient.
This movie really is trying to get Chinese audiences, like people from China. And my understanding is that it may not be doing so well over in China, so they're kind of disappointed. But whatever. The movie itself. So kind of moving into my final statement here and the review score. I think that the movie had like I said, I think that in the beginning, I think that the movie was a good idea. It was a really good idea. It could have been a really great, maybe like first entry into like Marvel's real AAA release of movies that are basically of their Eastern martial arts characters. I think that with this particular movie, like somebody had to have come in and been like, hey, add this type of character, add that thing, put this on top of it. And it just ended up getting so big that the movie has a runtime of, like I said, like 2 hours and 12 minutes. They could have shaved that down to an hour and a half by getting rid of some of the extra stuff. I thought that there was too much comic relief. I appreciated the comedy that they had in the beginning, but as you get into the story, it starts to get pretty serious, and it's like, we're done with comic relief now. We're going on here to some serious stuff. And it kind of pauses, comic relief. The starts and stops kind of slow momentum. I would have said that this was an above average movie without some of these issues, but because of the issues, I'm going to say from my perspective, and this is all subjective, I'm going to say average. I would even say like high average, but it doesn't reach into the above average for me. It's one of those movies. So the promotional material said that this was supposed to be a movie that just going to change everything about the Marvel Universe, and it's going to make this big deal thing for cinema. And the truth is that it just doesn't do that. It's good. You go to the movie theater, you watch it, or you put in your DVD, you watch it. It's entertaining for the 2 hours that it's on, and then you turn it off and you move on with your day. Probably what's going to happen is they're going to come back the second round if it makes, it's financially successful and stuff. They're going to come back with a second round, and then like Shang-Chi 2 is going to be where you really start to see the characters really develop into these great characters that you can kind of fall in love with. Like I love Captain America from the MCU. I love Black Widow from the MCU. I love Thor from the MCU. I love Hulk because I've been with these characters and watched them develop. Shang-Chi did not develop the characters moving, it introduced us to them, but it didn't really develop and make us fall in love with them really. But CGI, action, the CGI and the action and stuff was entertaining and fun, and the story was passable. The story would have been a lot better without those problems, though. So I'm going to say average, even high average, but not above average movie. What do you say?
I was entertained. I enjoyed the story. Even with the holes, knowing that I was doing this review, I realized that there were things that could have been done better. But overall, I would give it an above average rating. I would go back and see it again.
Okay, so there you go. So you're looking at a movie that's between average and above average, depending on who you talk to, at least from us two here. But that's our review, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all, and have a good day.
Don't forget to stop by the store.
Yeah, pick up one of my awesome shirts. Show them the shirt. Yeah, look at that. Show them the back.
After Action Review, join the Alpha Pack.
This is the Alpha shirt. This is different. This is the normal shirt. That's the Alpha shirt. So, awesome. Go check out my Teespring store. But I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. You have a good one now.